Hey there and welcome back to my channel. So today I have a very special haul for you guys. It's a small haul because there's only 2 fragrances, but it was a very expensive one, and it's 2 fragrances that I've really been interested in trying, and I'm so glad I was able to snag them up. So we will get into it. If you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe. You will be notified every time I put out a new video, and you will have known, if you've been watching my channel for a while, that most of my hauls are blind buys and first impressions, and this is no exception. So they're both from the same house and kind of, I guess, in the same collection, but they have slightly different packaging, and I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know if one's just older packaging, I assume so, but if you guys know more, you can let me know in the comments. But basically what led me to this is this fragrance, Roses Berberanza, which I picked up a while ago. I was just kind of incredibly blown away by this, and I remain as such, and it's just led me to feel like I really was doing myself a disservice by kind of not getting into the Maison Lancome range, and I don't know why. I think it was so oversaturated that I just felt like, oh no, it's talked about too much, there's too much hype, and I didn't want to get into it for whatever reason. And then I got this one, and if they're anything like this, then I cannot imagine how good they're going to be, especially because this is one that, based on notes, probably wouldn't have been my first pick, and yet I was just so happy with it, and I'm really loving it. So I picked up 2 more. We will start, I'm going to leave the one I think I'm going to love the most for second, but I'm excited for both. And so the first one is obviously by Maison Lancome, and it's loveeeeeed, and this is 75 ml. This is one that looks like it's different packaging than the Roses Berberanza. So I think this is just the older packaging, but at the same time, I think loveeeeeed only ever comes in this packaging. I don't know. For those that it matters, I know that it's gonna look different. And here's the box, here's the little pamphlet. Oh, I didn't realize it comes in a pouch as well. And this is the 75 ml. So it comes in this pretty pouch. That other one, the Roses Berberanza, didn't have a pouch to it. So we will open this to try to get it out here. And this is what it looks like. It's very beautiful, very ornate, has that kind of classic Maison Lancome doors. And yeah, this is what it looks like. So when I was reading up on this fragrance, they said that there was 17 ingredients and that it was very, you know, I don't know, thoughtfully made. And so I wrote them all down in case it's of interest. There's saffron, cypriol, labdaman, clary sage, Turkish rose, Bulgarian rose, gaiac wood, green wet patchouli, vetiver, what is it, amorous wood, moss, gurgenum balm, and myrrh. And it's supposed to be an oud type fragrance. It's supposed to be very rich and dark, and it has a lot of notes that I wouldn't usually be gravitated towards, but I do love a good oud, and I do like richer, deeper, woodier fragrances. So I'm really hoping that is the case with this one. And because there's only 2, I will spray them and kind of give my first impressions off of skin, which I prefer to do anyways rather than the strips, but sometimes with too many. Okay, so this one, it's beautiful. There's definitely already a dark, wet bitterness to it. There's the oud, of course, but most of the ouds I have in my collection, and I don't have that many, are sweeter, and they're usually a lot more mixed with rose. I think they all have some type of rose. This obviously lists 2 rose, but I think they're all sweeter than this one. This is the most authentic oud in my collection, in that it's the most similar to when you're actually burning oud in like one of those burners. No, it's beautiful. It's very rich, very deep, very woody, and I get a wetness to it. It's a green wet patchouli, and I don't know if I really know if it's like green wet patchouli, but there is kind of like a wet, maybe moss-like mossiness to it, which again usually wouldn't be my thing, but this is incredibly unisex. I will say right off the bat, I think this is very, very unisex. Yeah, very bitter, and usually it wouldn't be my thing, but for something that's so beautifully blended, it's rich and deep without being suffocating or unpleasant, because bitterness is a kind of, I don't know, like a flavor, I suppose, of fragrance that I don't usually love on my skin. It's why I've absolutely hated White Luminous Gold by Michael Kors, because that's quite bitter, but in like a spicy way that I just find not really tolerable on my skin for me. But this isn't the case. This is much more, it's not synthetic, it's very realistic, and it's beautiful. This is a fragrance that I feel myself wearing from time to time, and definitely in colder weather. I don't think this necessarily lends itself to spring, summer, or high heat, but I really didn't expect it to. And yeah, it's very, very unisex. It's very beautiful. I will again, obviously, wear it, really try it out, and when I come back for second impressions, be able to give you guys more of a review on projection, sillage, lasting power, the dry down, and even more of that heart. Because right now I'm getting very much like a mossy, wet, slightly bitter oud on my skin. Very woody, very nice, and incredibly unisex. So that is L'Autre Oud by Maison Lancome. And then the second one that I have is the one arguably I'm more likely to love, and I was equally excited for both, but more likely to love, and this is Iris Dragees. So that's Iris Dragees, and this is obviously also from Maison Lancome, and this one is in, from, if I remember correctly based on the photos, the same kind of packaging that Roses Berberanza is in, and the box looks the same as well, and this one are the 100 mils, so it's bigger. It's gonna look exactly like that. I was most excited for this one because based off of notes, I feel like from the entire range, this would probably be my most favorite, or the one I would assume would be my favorite. I adore Iris. I love powdery fragrances. I love florals that evoke powderiness, and Dragees, like Amande Dragees, are those, what is it called in English? Like Jordan almonds, sugared almonds. So this is kind of what I assume to be like a sugared, hard candy, sugared version of an Iris fragrance. So again, yeah, it looks exactly like this, except for it says Iris Dragees, and this listed bergamot, pink pepper, freesia, orange blossom, almond, sugar, iris flower, isoe super, orris, and vanilla musk. So yeah, it definitely has the sugar and the almond, as I mentioned. Amande Dragees are those sugared almonds, or those Jordan almonds, and Iris is iris, obviously, and it lists sugar as well. So I'm very much looking forward to this one. This one, I will say, has a white cap, and that one had a gold cap. Those are the only really different distinctions I can make, and of course the L'Autre Oud is completely different altogether. This kind of reminds me of the older version of oud fragrances from Maison Lancome, so I'm not sure, but this just looks, I think they're both beautiful, but there's just something about these bottles that's spectacular to me. So we will spray it for first impressions on the other arm. Oh wow, okay, this is beautiful. I kind of want to spray it one more just right up here so it's easier to smell. This is very beautiful. Immediately you definitely get that iris flower and a little bit of like a clean powdery iris, and yet it's sugared. And there's a touch of citrus to it. I don't know if they mentioned, oh, I guess there's bergamot. There is a touch of citrus to it. It just keeps it a little bit more fresh. It's kind of like a lemon sugar, or I guess bergamot sugar opening, and then that iris is really beautiful. I have to do a video on all my iris fragrances and all my violet fragrances, because I feel like the different takes that you can do with an iris and the ways you can explore iris and violet. It's reminding me a little bit of the Iris Nobile by Acqua di Parma, but not exactly there, but it's reminiscent of that off the bat, because this also has bergamot, and I'm pretty sure Iris Nobile has bergamot in the opening as well. But this is a bit sweeter. I will say I expected it to be much more sugared and sweet and syrupy, because Roses Berberanza is extremely sweet. It's a very much of like it just reminds me of baklava or Middle Eastern desserts, because it's like very syrupy and sweet. And this is less so. I expected this to be just as much, or at least very close to, because it also lists sugar and of the name Dragees. Yeah, but it's really nice. It's a lot fresher than I expected. It's of course sweet, but I'm definitely getting like a bergamot lemon, a sugar iris. I have to let it, there's like a touch of almond in there, but I'm a huge lover of almond and fragrances, and it's not as strong as I would like, but maybe it's some of that l'autre oud is getting in the way, because that was a very strong fragrance to start out with. Yeah, so I will have to wear this a bunch more. I feel like this is a good time of year to really try it out, see what I'm getting more on the skin, wear it, you know, days where I'm really dedicating on just wearing this, to see if I can get anything else on my skin and the heart and the dry down, and of course speak to the sillage and the overall performance. But off of, you know, first impressions, it's beautiful. I absolutely adore it, and I'm so glad to have this. So I always like to put my fragrances in order in these videos, but as with two, it's pretty easy to do. I will say I kind of expected this. I like both, and it's hard to pick a favorite just because they're so different, and I would use them for different occasions. They're very polar opposites in my opinion. But in terms of what's more me and what I see myself gravitating towards more often, it has to be Dragees. This is just, it's an iris-based fragrance. It has bergamot, which I love. It has a bunch of florals, which I adore. It's a little powdery, it's a little fresh. It's so quintessential me. Whereas this one is a lot more of, when I do tend to want something richer, darker, or deeper, I would want an oud fragrance. I just love oud. And this is a really beautiful take on more bitter, authentic oud without getting too animalic or too difficult to wear. I still would definitely wear this. It's just not the time of year, and I would wear this way less often than I would wear Dragees, because that's more of an everyday scent for me. So this is a close second. Definitely liked both. Don't forget to leave me in the comments which one of these, or even Roses Berberanza, you would like to try or you have tried. I'd love to hear from you guys. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!